Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hello, friends. I'm John.
And I'm Kevin.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down for your listening pleasures.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. It's great to, I would say, to see you, but we can't see you. It's great to have you here with us.
It's great to see Arnold, though.
Speaking of Arnold, yeah, the era of Arnold, and here we are. Kevin, when we last left everyone, Matrix had just been subdued by some goons, by Cook and Bennett.
Led by Cook and Bennett.
An ex-team member. He chased them because they kidnapped his daughter. Bennett shot him with a tranquilizer and knocked him out.
Yep. So far, yeah.
It was a busy first episode.
There's a lot going on in the life of John Matrix.
That's right. Everything moves very fast.
He just wants to get Jenny Matrix back. That's his main motivation, right?
All he cares about is Jenny.
Yeah, so he slowly comes to
That's
on a
right.
table.
Tied up to a table.
Shackled down
and we start to see this cool upward shot of just like faces popping into vision above him, looking down at him.
Yeah.
So we see Sully, played by David Patrick Kelly, who I will refrain from calling Jerry Horn.
Don't do it.
Enriquez, this big burly dude, Bennett, who we've seen before, and Arius, who's played by Dan Hedaya.
With what, a dark tan or maybe a little bit of brown face?
I think that's his skin.
You think that's him?
Yeah. He's always been sort of olive complected.
All natural?
Yeah.
All right. I hope so.
He looked good in this movie, though.
Hedaya?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Like in the 80s and stuff, he started to make more like comedic roles.
I loved him in Cheers.
He was awesome in Cheers.
Of course.
I've forgotten that he was in Cheers. Maybe like in Joe versus the Volcano.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that with you, Harry.
Yeah, he's a pretty funny dude.
Yeah.
But this is a little out of character for him.
Right. He's playing this sort of smug, suave, vaguely Hispanic former dictator, Arius. So Bennett leans in and announces that he wanted to kill Matrix instead of using just tranquilizers.
He's like, because I guess Matrix didn't realize when he got shot. Tranquilizers. I wanted to use the real thing.
And freaks out, man.
He is so ferocious.
He goes from 0 to 1,000 in a split second.
He's such a memorable villain.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what you want.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. I think he's over the top for sure.
What do you think about his getup, Kevin?
I think that
it's original, right?
We had to paint a picture for you here.
Yeah.
So he's got sort of short cropped hair.
Yeah, it's like it had once been buzz cut, but it's grown out a little bit weirdly, like awkwardly.
He's got a handlebar mustache. He's got a sort of a big chain around his neck. But
it's not even a full handlebar. It comes just
below
the corners of his mouth. Not all the way down to...
Not down to his chin, but past the edge of his mouth.
Freddie Mercury, but a little more truck driver.
Well, and Vernon Wells thought of this character as Freddie Mercury on steroids.
Oh, shit. Oh, that's awesome.
The director, Lester, said he sort of pictured Bennett's look as like a punk rock guy.
Right.
That's not how this came off. He said it wasn't until after the fact that people were like, he reads more like Leather Daddy.
Yeah, he looks like, that's exactly what he looks like. We can't figure out, we think it's supposed to be like a chainmail apron almost that he's wearing. It's like a vest.
It is, but it's not metallic.
It's not made of metal, but we think it's supposed to be metal.
It has the look of chainmail.
Right.
Like it's loops of what appears to be like gray fabric, like woven,
Right.
that he's got, but it is a vest. Truly, it's pulled on over the top of like a black sort of sweater.
If
thing.
it's a sweater, it'd be like the least effective sweater ever made in that it has no sleeves and you can see through it completely.
Keeps his torso like really warm though.
We guess. Anyway, it doesn't make sense, but he looks great and we love it.
But I think, I mean, it was kind of ill-fitting also, or it wasn't flattering on him.
No.
But the story goes that they had cast another guy for that part of Bennett and shot for a day or two with him, and he wasn't working out, and they let him go and brought Vernon Wells in from wherever, from Australia.
Right.
Like no notice.
Fly
and
him
didn't
in.
refit him for costumes, just like threw him in the other guy's costume so they fit a little snug around the midsection.
That shit happens. Show up and they're just like, you have to make do with what we've got.
But Vernon Wells, he says, like, when he was describing his approach, he said that the more intense the bad guy is, the more heroic the good guy will appear. And this was that type of movie where you had like,
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
a buff ass, Arnold Schwarzenegger as John Matrix. You need someone who is,
And also with not a lot of
larger
range,
than life.
not a lot of range as an actor. And so if Bennett is even more over the top, then
like animated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a nice foil. Yeah. So
apparently Arnold like really didn't like him at first.
interesting.
Said like, well, they went right into shooting these things where he's like got a knife to his throat and stuff. I think he actually like cut Arnold a little bit.
Arnold got like he came out of this worse for wear. He was injured a lot during filming because he was doing his own stunts and stuff.
I think they shot a scene where he sort of had the knife to Arnold's throat, and afterwards Arnold's like, don't let that guy around me with a real knife again. Like he was legit like, I don't like this. But afterwards I think he recognized that Wells was like actually a super friendly guy,
Right.
and like they're all buddy now or whatever.
I should also clarify, Arnold didn't do all of his own stunts, as is evidence from watching this movie.
There's some
But he did-
very
he did-
obvious non-Arnold
Right.
stuntmen.
He did a lot of them though, because it's hard to find a guy that looks like Arnold to fill in for Arnold. So
Yeah.
back to the movie. Arius.
What movie?
No, exactly.
Commando? Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted by the mustache and the chainmail.
So Arius asks Matrix if he remembers him, and Matrix says,
Yes.
scumbag.
He recognizes him as like a former deposed dictator from the nation of Valverde.
Yeah, apparently he was super, super ruthless, but Matrix says that more than him, he remembers all the people that he had killed.
Yeah.
So we get the idea that Arius was not a good guy.
So then Arius lays out his scheme, which is, I'm going to have you, John Matrix, go back to Valverde and kill the president so that I can return to power there. But this Valverde like is a fictional country.
Right.
It crops up in a lot of these 80s action movies.
Right.
Like it was the country that the general was from in Die Hard 2. It's supposedly also where Predator is set there
Right.
in the nation of Valverde. It's like stand-in for,
Somewhere in South America.
yeah, like Grenada or one of these places where they're
Or in Spain, yeah.
communists clashing with guerrillas, clashing with CIA, installed
There's
leaders.
a lot of regime change conflict happening in these
Yeah.
places, and that's sort of what's going on in Valverde.
Matrix is kind of curious. Why don't you have Bennett do it? It seems like something he'd get off on.
Arius says that, and this is great, President Velasquez, yikes, probably should be pronounced Velasquez by a Spanish speaker, but yikes. President Velasquez, who took Arius's place, trusts Matrix, who was the hero of the revolution. So Matrix would be able to get close enough to kill him, to pull everything off. And that Bennett couldn't do it because he's a fucking like murdering bastard.
Murderous loose cannon,
Yeah, he developed a reputation for just killing people.
Matrix said, that Bennett enjoyed killing a little too much.
But this was interesting that Bennett says that was Matrix. Bennett says that was Matrix's fault, that his training made him the killer that he is.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
That's convenient. I can't be held responsible. You did this to me.
Still, Matrix refuses
Right.
Arius's demands, and that's when they go out and Bennett goes to the door, swings it open, and Cook wheels Jenny in like she's bound to a wheelchair.
Right.
Arius says, if you do this job, you'll get your daughter back. If you don't do this job, we'll mail her to you in pieces.
Yeah, there's a foreign policy lesson to be learned here about nation building wars and regime change. we shouldn't do it.
There was a look on Bennett's face, another Bennett smirk, that like bordered on flirting, like it was a seductive grin.
I have a very strong theory that Bennett is, if he's not obsessively in love, like to the point of like wanting to kill.
It
like
could be like
fatal attraction, fatal attraction, that he is like so into killing. But I think he's specifically obsessed with killing Matrix, but it comes out as like sexuality. It's very sensual.
It really does. Like that's his drive.
It's very
to
effective.
Just destroy Matrix.
But that portrayal is awesome.
You like it?
Yeah.
He steals every scene.
Right. He really does. He really does.
So back at Matrix's house, Kirby and a platoon of soldiers are cleaning up the mess. They've got a bunch of dead bodies lined up in body bags or whatever.
That's right.
And then one of the nameless soldiers is asking, like, you think there's going to be more bodies? And Kirby says, if Matrix is alive, there's going to be a lot more.
Foreshadowing.
And yeah, this movie's deep like that.
Plot devices aplenty.
That's such a Troutman Rambo line, though.
Oh, it totally
when he's
is.
like, if you send a bunch of guys up there to bring him back, don't forget a good supply of body bags. Like, it's that type of line.
Yeah, that Troutman soliloquy in First Blood where he's talking about like what a badass John Rambo is. That was amazing.
Yeah.
This is nothing like that.
No, it's not. This doesn't have the gravitas.
Right.
That movie made you wait for 30 minutes or so until the action starts. Like they established characters. This movie, I mentioned in the last episode that it was like muscle porn.
Yeah.
And not unlike porn. This is a movie that sort of starts off with just a burst of action.
Yeah.
Because you can get away with that. Like, let's get an action sequence in before we actually have to have a plot. And I feel like that's also how every porn opens.
Be right back. Just kidding. So anyway, the bad guys have taken Matrix to the airport. It's Bennett, Sully, and Enriquez.
They've put Matrix in a blazer.
Well, you have to look presentable when you go to the airport. I'm on board with that.
He's got like a ripped up, sort of shredded, like t-shirt type thing on underneath.
He's wearing like a green long sleeve Henley.
Yeah, but it was what he had ridden down the mountainside in. Like he had, it was a little raggedy.
Yeah.
It was just weird. I thought it's odd that you would even be able to find a blazer to fit.
Yeah, whose blazer is that?
Because he is a unique size.
He is, for sure. So Bennett says that Sully will make sure that Matrix gets on the plane, and Enriquez is going to stay with him during the trip to make sure that he gets off in Valverde, to make sure that he goes and kills President Velasquez.
This is another one of those stories that only works in a pre-cell phone world.
Right.
Like once you're on an airplane, you're out of contact with the rest of the world until that plane lands.
Do you miss cell phones in this movie? I don't even realize that they're not there.
I think you and I grew up in our childhood. It was a pre-cell phone world.
Right.
I think younger generation who has never known anything without cell phones is like, this is weird.
They'd watch this and be blown away. It'd be noticeable.
I think so.
Write in and let us know. Hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know if that's an actual thing. And I'm also going to ask my nieces in like junior high. Is this true? Is this true?
I love the size discrepancy between Enriquez and Sully. Like Enriquez makes Schwarzenegger look small.
Right.
And Sully is probably 5'7", 5'6". Like he's a little small, skinny
diminutive guy.
Yeah. Dude, Enriquez looks the opposite of inconspicuous.
Yeah, he looks.
It's like a white suit with a Hawaiian print shirt and like a
jungle hunter hat. Or something.
What do you call those hats? The pith helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah. This dude could not stand out more, and he's probably 6'5". Well, it is 300 pounds.
It is fucking California, as John McClane would say.
That's true. I guess anything goes at LAX.
So Bennett lets Matrix know that if either of these two guys fail to check in, then they're going to kill Jenny. Mm-hmm. I love this too. That Matrix then asks Bennett how much they offered him to pull all this off, how much he's getting paid, and Bennett says that they offered him $100,000, which at the time is only like that's $240,000 about now. Would you do all kidnap, murder, regime change in a foreign country, go against like
he
everything you've ever
seen? I feel like Arias lowballed him on that price.
all I can give you is $240,000.
But Bennett didn't even want it.
No, he was like, I'll do it for free. I fucking
He's
hate
like,
Matrix so
I
much.
get my hands on Matrix. Yeah, I'll do it for free. That's God. All the exchanges between them,
Yeah, it's great.
are marvelous.
And so then you get this bit as they're taking Arnold into the airport.
Oh shit!
Yeah, this little exchange between him and Bennett.
Yeah, we get the Arnold classic. I'll be back, Bennett.
John, I'll be ready, John.
Yeah. It was a good, I mean, it's a solid comeback, but this D'Souza, I didn't realize, I mean, I knew, I'll be back is like the Arnold catchphrase.
Do you think Arnold insisted on it, or was that the studio guys?
I think they were like, no, that's going to be a thing that we use in every one of your movies, because it is in like probably half of his pre 1995 catalog.
Absolutely.
When one form or another.
Do people love it? How do we feel about it now?
Catchphrase?
Yeah, the I'll be back.
So of course it's great in the nostalgia way, but I don't think you can get away with that anymore with modern audiences.
But they still
From
do it.
one movie, from one franchise to another, one character to another, they work. What? Tell me one.
I was
Who's
just
still doing
thinking
it?
they still use I'll be back in all the Terminator movies.
Yeah, but that's Terminator.
Yeah, but still.
You're right.
I'm just saying they still use it. We get a blast from the past here. You know how much I love scenes shot in airports in the 80s.
Yeah.
That Matrix, Sully, and Enriquez just breeze through TSA.
Yeah, this is like it's like a pre 9/11 world.
It is just walk right through.
I guess none of the three of them were carrying a gun, but they walked through. There was no having to show identification, no having to show a boarding pass. And they did not look like guys who weren't up to no good.
Right.
They looked like they were on some sort of shady business.
So on the way to the gate, Sully's trying to make like small talk with Matrix, says that he and Enriquez were in the service also. There's nothing like our war buddies.
Sully tells Matrix to take your time. He gives him some money and he's like, here, have a few beers in Valverde. You know, take your time. It'll give us all a little more time with your daughter.
Rat bastard.
That's gross as hell.
Foul.
How old? We don't know how old Jenny is. I don't think they said, but how old do you think she is?
Like 12, 13. Yeah.
Yeah.
Max.
It's horrifying.
So it also gives you insight as to the kind of people that they're dealing. More insight as to the kind of people Matrix is dealing with. But Sully especially is just.
The more we get to know Sully, the less we are going to like him.
We hate him.
So what was Matrix's reaction to that, innuendo about the daughter?
It's just, you get this real steely, quiet, intense, you're a funny guy, Sully. I like you. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
Yeah, you believe him when he says that.
I was like, and Sully believes him, and Enriquez believes him, because Enriquez is like, all right, let's
Enriquez
move.
grips him tight, and he's like, come on, let's go.
Yeah, he's like, we gotta go.
Yeah, that was a stone cold killer line.
Totally. So Sully won't be long for the world, probably, as a result of that exchange.
So Sully, he's doing his duty, which is watching as the guys board the plane.
Right. And I noticed on this rewatch that as Enriquez is, sort of walking Matrix up the stairs onto
they do
the
that
plane.
old school boarding where you walk across the tarmac and then up the stairs.
Right. You sort of see Matrix sizing up, like he's looking down at the ground around the bottom of the plane, which I'd never noticed before. And I was like,
I never noticed until you pointed it out, but he's checking out that landing gear, right?
And then as right as he's about to get on, he looks up and gives Sully this absolutely withering look. He's just like,
yeah.
Oh yeah. He just
from
stares him
right
down.
before he walks through the door.
Yeah.
I know the one you mean.
It's awesome.
Rad.
So they get on the plane. They had their tickets checked by a lovely young flight attendant who's played by Chelsea Field, who viewers and listeners of the podcast may recognize as Tila from Masters of the Universe.
Nice. She had it going on, but yeah, she's lovely flight attendant. Of course.
I also love that Arius spared no expense and they're sitting in first class on the way to Valverde.
He put him in first class.
It's
That's
awesome.
sweet.
So after being seated and calling Enriquez carry-on luggage.
Yeah. What did they say? Do you have any carry-on? Just him.
Just him. Yeah. So he sort of gets threatened. Enriquez is like, if you say anything else, I'm going to nail your mouth shut. And then Matrix asks a flight attendant for a blanket and a pillow.
I love that. Could you even ask for a blanket and a pillow on a flight today? Or would they?
An 11-hour flight? On an international flight, usually you have it.
They provide
anyway.
that stuff for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
it's very cute.
It's like, may I have a blanket and a pillow, please? Yeah. I must have my nappy times.
And then as the attendant starts making pre-flight announcements, Matrix just absolutely knocks the shit out of Enriquez with his elbow.
Yeah.
Just
he elbows him in the face, like breaking his face, basically.
Yeah, totally.
Then he sort of locks him in a headlock and snaps his neck.
Now, you said you would have, like, that people should have noticed this, right?
That was a commotion, even though he kind of did it quietly.
Right.
I mean, it's like two dudes probably combined weight over 500 pounds.
Look, if I'm in first class, then I am like 3 drinks in.
Okay.
And like the people in front of him are probably drunk and asleep.
There was a couple people in front of him. The woman in front of him looked like stoned, like she was on whatever.
She's out of it.
Yeah, and the dude seemed like he was deep in reading a novel.
He's on his way to a very important business meeting in Valverde.
But even as the airplane door is closing, like Matrix has that kind of panic, like he's looking around like, how am I gonna? He's like,
right.
Yeah, he panics when the door locks or whatever, but he'll figure something out, I think.
So he props Enriquez, or his corpse anyway, up against the window and covers him up with a blanket, covers his face up with his hat. And I love this bit where he grabs Tila and asks her how long the flight is.
Exactly 11 hours.
On the dot. Not more, not 1 second less. Mm-hmm. And then we have another kiss off line.
Another wonderful, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger special.
You do this one. You take this one.
Do me a favor. Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired.
Oh, God, D'Souza, you genius.
But the way Arnold he does these lines with like a stone face, like he hasn't quite learned how to make his face move yet.
But it works.
Yeah. He's a machine. He's almost.
Yeah, for all his protestations that I'm so glad I'm not playing a robot. He's playing a robot.
Yeah. And as that Ebert review you referenced in the last episode went on to say, he's doing basically his Terminator shtick.
Yeah.
As a human.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can sort of see it because he is just like monotone.
Right.
Just delivering the lines, reading them off a page, basically.
The range is limited, but his delivery it's still effective, weirdly. I encourage you all to go and read that site's review on RogerEbert.com. It's from like 2015.
The lines are cheesy as hell, but like he makes them work somehow. It's probably in Arnold's career, like the first inkling that he can sort of get away with some things that other action actors can't get away with.
Other people could not pull this off. So he fakes air sickness to make his way to the rear of the plane and to the elevator that goes down to the belly of the plane.
Dude, when he passed by the flight attendant and she's like, you can't be out of your seat during takeoff, and he grabs his tummy and he's like, I'm air sick. Like, dude, he's so deadpan that it makes it funny.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
The only way it could have been better is he'd been like, I'm gassy or something like that. Anyway, he ends up in a cargo hold where he finds a vicious Doberman.
Yeah, he pulls the door back and there's a dog barking in his face.
And then we love this bit where he absolutely rips apart this barrier that looks like it had a zipper on it.
It had a zipper door, it seemed like, and he just rams his hands. Why open a door when you can just destroy it?
Kevin, every second counts, I guess. He accesses the landing gear, climbs down onto it.
I feel like finally, and Sully I think he's confident that he's gone. I've seen enough to know that he's on the plane and he's on his way to Valverde.
There's no way he's going to get off a moving plane.
He starts to walk away. As the plane speeds down the runway, he's confident to walk away. The
plane lifts off as Matrix is clinging to the landing gear. The plane's going, 200, 300 miles an hour?
Plane, like a 747 or whatever that is, to get up. Yeah, it's got to be probably 300 miles an hour to get off the ground.
Matrix undoubtedly knew the area around the airport, being from LA, so he knew that there were going to be some wetlands close by, I guess. So he had to have known. He's like,
Southern California is well known for its wetlands.
I've got a shot, he said.
It's unbelievable. He should have gone to the rear of the plane because those wheels would have been lower, closer to the ground as it clears the runway. But man, this plane is hundreds of feet off the ground.
And the fall, when the double or whoever lets go,
I think that was just a dummy.
It must have been, it must have been a dummy. So when they let the dummy go, and the fall seems like it's from pretty high up.
It was 200 to 300 feet, guaranteed.
So you got a 250-pound man plummeting 200 to 300 feet.
Well, and he's going 300 miles an hour. He's like being shot. It would be like being shot out of a cannon.
And the water where he lands is only a few feet deep.
Yeah, there's no world in which this doesn't kill any human being
or shatter their body completely.
He just pops up like immediately. They don't give you enough time to think about how ridiculous it is, I think, is the tactic of the filmmakers.
Yeah. It is. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You just have to be like, all right, well, he made it.
Like, well, if he
Glad
gets up
made
and he's like, ow, my leg hurts.
then it's like your
Then
leg
that's
should
the thing.
be
If he
destroyed.
pops up like nothing's the matter, then we're on to the next scene.
It's as my buddy Andrew says, shut up and enjoy the Die Hard. Just you got to buy into it.
So he grabs his watch and he sets a timer for 11 hours. He's running across the tarmac back towards the terminal.
That's right.
No one sees him, and there's no type of security.
He does some parkour over a gate.
He does.
And we see Sully calling in to Arius that Matrix is airborne.
Yeah, like the package is on the way or whatever it is like that. I think whoever's on the phone tells Sully, like, go now, make the drop or make a transaction or something like this.
We don't know what that's all about, but we're gonna find out. And then this is our first glimpse of Radon Chong as Cindy, right next to Sully on the phone.
She's at the next payphone over.
Right.
Do you remember the world of payphones? I do.
Yeah, this is another like blast from the past for this. Is like seeing people on payphones. I remember, in college, even when you and I first knew each other,
there'd be big banks of payphones.
Before I had a cell phone, like I'd be on the road with Georgia State Jazz Band, and we'd be going to do like a show somewhere at some college, and we'd pull over at a gas station, and I was like, I need to call my mom.
I remember working at my first job. I was working at Publix at a grocery store, and I'd get a page from my high school girlfriend, and then I'd want to send her a page. I want to send her a page back on her beeper and go to the payphone and feed it the thing and send a little message.
Do you remember that I had a beeper? The first 2 years that we knew each other. The first year that we knew each other. Yeah,
I think I'd moved on to cell phones by the time I met you.
Yeah, I had a beeper, and then I was supposed to call my parents back on our dorm phone.
Yeah. But so. Meanwhile, back in Commando land.
That's right. So we've seen Sully talking on the phone next to Radon Chong. We don't know who she is yet. We cut to Arius and Bennett, who are getting ready to leave on a boat with Jenny.
We don't really know where they're going, but they're taking Jenny somewhere.
Right. And Arius tells her that her father's cooperating and that they'll be together soon. And won't that be nice?
She says, not nearly as nice as watching him smash your face in.
She got that Punky Brewster spunkiness going on.
I mean, she is her father's daughter.
Absolutely.
Like, she's not taking any shit from anyone.
No. Meanwhile, back at the airport, Matrix spots Sully at the bank of payphones. And it's at this point that Sully notices Cindy on the phone, who notices him noticing her, and she seems like pretty fucking creeped out by it.
She is not into it.
No.
Like she's in the middle of a conversation
with a guy,
and he's saying like, "Oh, sounds like he's standing you up,"
or a girl,
or
yeah,
we don't know.
That's right,
dude. You don't know.
That's right.
But yeah, he's like, "Oh, sounds like you need a date," and all this like just awful lines.
And she's not having it. She's not into the misogyny.
Yeah, his game is like creepy as hell.
Yeah, his game is predatory from the onset.
Absolutely. She's like, she blows him off, and then she's going to her car to leave. Yeah, and he follows her into the parking deck. What could be creepier?
And then Matrix is following her.
Exactly.
So, in the parking deck, Sully sort of starts to harass her, not like straight up just harass her.
It's 10 times more threatening in that parking deck, I feel like, than in the terminal, you know?
Just think, like, when would it ever be? In what universe? Every great relationship really starts out with one stranger saying to the other, I've got something I'd like to show you.
You don't know what you're missing.
Oh.
She had a nice comeback to that one. She's like, from here, it looks like a nightmare. Like, please leave me alone.
And then you get the textbook exhibition of toxic masculinity, ladies and gentlemen, when he calls her a fucking whore.
Yeah. You don't want to date me, then you're a slut.
Yeah, calling a woman who has declined your sexual advances a whore is insanity.
I am bothered by it. I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to say it. But yeah, it's as disgusting of behavior as you can do, just about.
Kids, don't be like Sully.
Don't be like Sully. Be like Matrix.
Be like Matrix, you guys.
Well, we shouldn't say that because actually... So Sully walks off.
Yeah, that's true.
And much to Cindy's like relief. I was traumatized for her.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
That moment. It's like that scene, like, he couldn't have been more threatening.
Absolutely. It's terrifying.
And then Matrix grabs her.
Of
So
course.
I would say, don't be like Matrix. Be like, I don't know what.
Yeah. Be like us. We're nice.
A couple of sweetie pies.
That's right. So he's like, he tells her not to move and then he's not going to hurt her. And I feel like that's a classic formula for like Arnold movies, is him grabbing a woman by surprise and telling them he's not going to hurt them.
Yeah, we've seen it time and time again. He tells her to get in the car. Then he proceeds to rip one of the seats out of her car with his bare hands. Another feat of strength.
That's right.
Yeah, unbelievable. I don't even know why he did it. It makes him sit a little lower in the car, but he's still like
marginally. It's not even big enough to make a difference.
She's got this little tiny red convertible, and his head is like basically poking up above the windshield.
Yeah. So he tells her to follow Sully, who's rocking that Porsche 911.
Dude, he has a canary yellow Porsche 911.
It's not right for an asshole like that to have that nice a car.
Oh my gosh, I was in love with Sully's car.
Yeah. Incidentally, the car that Cindy drives is a British-made Sunbeam Alpine.
Okay. It was a cool little sports car.
I love it. It sort of looks like an MG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a super compact little thing.
Yeah.
Cindy says to Matrix, she's like, I can't help you. I've got
advanced
karate class I've got to get to.
That's a great line.
He's like, you're not going to make it.
Yeah. And so immediately their relationship is sort of set up.
Well,
that comedy.
So this isn't like the moment for her to necessarily be making jokes. I don't think she meant it as a joke, but Radon Chong is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's got a comedian's timing.
And this movie needs it, folks.
They start to drive off and Cindy is asking nervously, like, are you going to kill me? And he says, no. And she's like, well, I guess you wouldn't tell me if you were. And he's like, sure, I would. She's like, really? He turns to her and with that ominous like delivery, he's like, trust me.
Absolutely. Come with me if you want to live.
Then he's trying to tell her a little bit of like what's going on. He says like, I gotta track this guy down. A guy I've known for years wants me dead. And she says,
this bit is great.
She's like, I've only known you for a few minutes. I want you dead too.
The comedy duo at that point is established.
It's yeah, she's pretty sassy. Like,
she's awesome.
To be talking that sass at him. So I can only assume that this moment, if it had been shot or if it had made the final film, would have happened while they're riding in the car together. But Radon Chong tells this casting story about the scene that she read when they were doing casting for the film. And she says that, the script actually called for a white woman, and her being like a mixed ethnicity, she thought, like, I've only got one chance. I've got to give them something, unique or whatever with my audition. So the scene was that they're riding along and Matrix is going through her handbag and he pulls out like a dildo.
What?
and
that's not okay, Matrix.
And the scripted reaction from Cindy is supposed to be like, oh, it gets lonely on the road. And she's like, that's lame. So her reaction when she was reading
some man wrote that. Yeah,
her reaction when she was reading with Arnold was he pulls out the dildo and she's like, that's not mine. And
that's way better. That's way better.
I think, it's like a brilliant, a comedian's touch.
Absolutely.
Right? It's just lovely.
Well, her dad was Tommy Chong, so
I can also see why that did not make the final cut.
It would have the whole bit with the dildo.
Yeah, if it was to be dropped in right now, there's not just moments for sheer comedy, in a movie like this where you're racing against the clock.
But I feel like that, I don't know. I guess maybe it would be out of place. Yeah.
But then again, it's her cracking the joke, not him.
Exactly.
At any rate.
So there's a lot of car chasing going on, a lot of lights run and near misses. And finally, Cindy and Matrix follow Sully into the Sherman Oaks Galleria Mall.
It's a very famous movie location mall.
Yeah.
They filmed the mall stuff in Terminator 2. Yep. Was at that mall. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which huge portions of that movie are in the mall. And that's the one I really recognized. And then a movie I saw recently, horrible horror movie called Chopping Mall. Not shopping, but chopping with a C.
Yeah.
And it was like these robot security like security robots patrolling a mall and killing a bunch of teens.
Boo.
It was
That sounds terrible.
Awesomely bad movie. I would highly recommend.
Oh, if you recommend
put it on
I'm
at
gonna check it out.
bedtime. No, put it on at bedtime or when you want to just goof off and laugh at something. But yeah, that's the mall where they filmed this. It's
Awesome.
well known for its
Famous Sherman Oaks. So Sully Parks, followed closely by Cindy and Matrix. They see him enter. They follow him in. Matrix sort of like drags her along. Says he's almost done with her.
yeah, it's menacing.
Yeah. Once inside, they follow Sully to an upper level via an escalator. Sully took the elevator, and Matrix explains, and this is like he explains. He's
now he tells her
starting to like lay it out
exactly what's going on.
My daughter's been kidnapped, and this clown is the only hope I have of finding her. She's gonna get killed.
Right. So he says, please, 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 Cindy, go into the bar that we saw him walk into and lure him out here to me, and I'll do the rest.
Yeah, renege on your earlier spurns on his advances.
Yeah, go in there, tell him you're crazy about him.
I thought it over.
Yeah, I chased you down. You know, you were so charming in the parking garage.
It gets lonely on the road.
It does. So she agrees to help.
Yeah, reluctantly, but she does.
And then she follows him in the bar. He checks his watch at this moment.
Right.
And he's got 9 hours and 40 minutes left.
That's right.
And I love this. The watch, you hear that beep, beep, beep as it's counting down. But you only hear that when it's on a close-up of the watch.
That would drive me insane if it actually made that sound.
Yeah.
I'd cut my hand off.
It only beeps in a close-up, though. It doesn't beep when he's just walking around sneaking up on bad guys.
Rough. So Cindy follows Sully into the bar. Side note, during this, we've noticed Sully shamelessly checking out like every woman that walks by.
Yeah, he's desperate.
The worst. He's the worst. So inside the bar, Cindy immediately
there's a security guard
walks up to a mall cop and rats Matrix out.
I think it was a thing of she saw him there and she's like, oh my gosh, here's my opportunity to get out of this. I don't think that she went in there with the designs of betraying Matrix.
There's a good opportunity.
And she says, this guy's kidnapped me. He's crazy.
He's a paranoid maniac.
You're my only hope. There's a pregnant pause. And then the mall cop's like, I'll check it out. Like, yeah, no shit, dude. That's your job, right?
I'll think about it.
There was a long pause, like he was thinking about telling her to beat it.
I don't know. Meanwhile, a short distance over, Sully is completing some kind of transaction with a shady character in a Panama hat. He's not from around here, I guess.
He's like he's like appears to be looking at what looks like maybe passports and stuff.
He hands over a bunch of passports in exchange for a red briefcase, which probably has money,
drugs, whatever.
Also, side note, I'm a huge fan of Sully's style.
You liked his fashion.
That suit and tie is badass.
That's where your admiration for him stops, though.
Right.
Okay. It was a very 80s chic look.
Yeah, it was. Like it's very, very stylish.
Yeah.
So outside the bar, mall cop spots Matrix, who for all his special forces training cannot fucking hide behind that thing to save his life.
If you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's already hard to blend in.
Right.
But he's like poking his head out from behind a whatever is very conspicuous.
And then you love this moment. He radios for some backup.
He's like, this guy's huge. All right, let me call for backup. And this other mall cop is down there chatting up a couple of girls. And he's like, he gets the call. He turns to the girls. And he's like, you want to see me kick some ass? And he's chewing the scene. He's making the most of his two lines.
He is
in the movie. Yeah,
his face is awesome. He's got that that Ellis shit-eating grin to Hans and Die Hard.
Yeah.
And he alerts the other mall cops.
He calls for more backup because he's like, this guy's green shirt. He's 6'2".
Yeah.
He's one gigantic motherfucker.
Savoring every syllable.
He's making his screen time count.
Oh, it's awesome. So Sully spots Cindy across the bar as he's talking about the fact that bar, or maybe the mall.
I jotted the quote down. He says, "This used to be a great place for hunt and slash."
Oh, my God.
The worst. He is the worst. The literal worst.
Kids, don't say slash. Friends,
unless you're talking about Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, unless you're talking about Guns N' Roses or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles villain, don't say slash.
Is there a slash?
There's a slash.
Villain? Okay, yeah. Not Shredder.
He's like another mutant turtle.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I didn't know about slash.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Trust me on my TMNT, baby.
Fair enough. He spots Cindy and he's like, oh, wait, I might.
Speaking of slash.
He's like, I might. Hold on. I see something over here. I might. He's like, let me go check this out.
Matrix looks over and sees Cindy. Like,
where's Cindy? She's in the doorway
watching.
She's
in the doorway, just cowering.
But she's watching. She's watching Matrix.
Guilty. Yeah, she's looking at him. And like got this guilty look on her face. Yeah. And so you I get this look on Matrix's face. I read it as he knows that
she ratted.
Yeah, that she ratted. And then he sees the advancement of mall cops.
There's like 4 guards closing in on him, and
he knows he's been sold up the river.
I think they ask him, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm just waiting on my friend.
And at the same time, Sully accosts Cindy in the doorway of the bar. All hell, Kevin, is about to break loose.
Do you want to talk about it right now?
No, let's wait.
Okay. All right. Fine.
Yeah, we'll come back. Press pause on this for right now, and you guys can wonder what the fuck happened.
If you want to know what it's like for John Matrix to tear a shopping mall apart, like with his bare hands, you're going to want to come back next week and check this out.
Do not miss it.
All right, we'll be back.